despite facing enormous adversity. After a car accident left her paralyzed, Emily had to restart her life both physically and emotionally. In a city as competitive as New York, Emily found the strength to move forward, which shows in her smile and attitude, even while facing daily challenges. Her wheelchair doesn't define her. What defines her is her resilience and the sparkle in her eyes that never disappeared. Alex passes by Emily for the first time in the company lobby without really noticing who she is, as he does with everyone who isn't in his immediate circle. However, things start to change when his personal assistant unexpectedly leaves, and Emily, being the receptionist, is temporarily assigned to assist him directly. This is their first significant interaction. To Alex, Emily is just a new, temporary employee, but something about her calm and optimistic personality unsettles him. As days go by, Alex begins to see Emily differently. He notices how she handles everything with grace, treats everyone with kindness, and never complains about her physical condition. He, who always felt suffocated by the superficiality of the people around him, starts to be drawn to something deeper. She brings a lightness and a perspective he has never experienced before, but at the same time, he feels confused and reluctant to admit that his attention is turning to someone outside his usual circle. For Emily, working directly with Alex is a challenge in itself. She knows he's one of the most powerful men in the city, and that his reputation isn't the warmest. Still, she treats him with the same dignity she treats everyone else. However, Emily can't help but notice that there's something different about Alex too. Beneath the cold and controlled exterior, there's a man who seems to carry an invisible burden. The first conflict arises within Alex, who starts to struggle with his own feelings. He, a billionaire used to controlling everything, now finds himself attracted to someone who isn't part of his glamorous world, someone in a completely different position from him and who is also in a wheelchair. Alex questions whether he's ready to let go of his own expectations and prejudices and follow his heart. The pride and image he has built for the world also become internal obstacles he will need to overcome. Emily, on the other hand, is focused on maintaining her job and independence, not wanting anyone to see her as fragile or incapable. She has already faced much judgment because of her disability and isn't willing to let anyone, not even a billionaire, see her only for her condition. As Alex and Emily begin to spend more time together, whether in professional situations or occasional encounters in the office, something subtly changes. Alex's curiosity about Emily grows, and he finds himself observing how she interacts with others, always with patience and kindness. He can't understand how someone who has gone through so many difficulties can maintain such a positive outlook on life. This contrasts sharply with his own perception, where he, despite being a man of immense power and wealth, feels trapped in an empty and superficial routine. However, the closer Alex gets emotionally to Emily, the more confused he feels. He begins to struggle with his own prejudices and internal questions. The idea of falling in love with someone who, in society's eyes, doesn't belong to his world, creates an inner conflict for Alex. He wonders if people around him would judge him for being with someone in a wheelchair, if it would affect his public image, and above all, if he would be able to face these barriers for love. Emily, on the other hand, continues to do her job impeccably, but she also notices that Alex seems to be watching her more than before. She feels intrigued, but maintains emotional distance. Emily has learned through her recovery and rehabilitation that she cannot let people pity her or treat her differently because of her condition. She fears that Alex might see her only as someone vulnerable, which she absolutely does not want. Amid this growing bond between them, obstacles arise. The first major obstacle is the return of Alex's personal assistant, who resumes her position. Emily then goes back to her original job at the reception desk, creating physical distance between them. This makes Alex realize how much he had gotten used to Emily's presence in his daily life. Without her around, he starts to miss the little interactions and casual conversations that had come to mean a lot to him. Furthermore, Alex's family and friends begin to notice something different about him. He, who has always been reserved and focused only on his business, now seems more distracted and emotionally involved with something or someone he does not openly share about. In an important business meeting, one of Alex's closest partners casually mentions Emily's presence and insinuates that she isn't the type of person Alex usually associates with. This comment, although made indirectly, makes Alex uncomfortable as it reflects the judgment he so fears facing. On the other hand, Emily starts to grow closer to other important secondary characters, like her friend and co-worker Sarah, who has always been her pillar of emotional support. Sarah is someone who knows Emily deeply and encourages her not to close her heart to the possibilities of love that might come, even if they come from unexpected places. However, Emily still holds a deep fear of opening her heart, especially to someone like Alex, who lives in such a different world from hers. Sarah plays a crucial role in Emily's life, being a loyal and optimistic friend. She has always believed in Emily's potential, even when Emily doubted herself. In deep and motivational conversations, Sarah reminds Emily that life is full of second chances, and that despite her fears, she deserves to be loved and appreciated for who she truly is. These conversations help Emily reflect on her own emotional barriers, while Alex, on the other hand, continues his internal battle. Another important character is Robert, Alex's mentor, and an older magnate who has also gone through losses and emotional challenges. During a casual meeting between the two, Robert mentions the importance of finding a balance between professional success and personal happiness, something Alex has never paid much attention to until now. This conversation makes Alex reconsider his priorities and think about what truly brings him satisfaction beyond financial success. The tension between Alex and Emily increases when he finally decides to invite her for coffee after work. Emily, surprised, accepts, but the situation between them is initially uncomfortable. Both are clearly interested in each other, but there is an invisible barrier created by their own insecurities and prejudices. During the conversation, Alex tries to open up but hesitates to talk about his feelings, while Emily, noticing this, maintains a defensive stance, still fearing that he might not see her for who she truly is. At this moment, an unexpected event creates a new twist. Alex receives an international expansion proposal for his company, which would require him to spend several months abroad. This news shakes him as he realizes that he might lose his connection with Emily before he even has the chance to truly explore it. This forces him to confront his feelings more urgently, while Emily, on the other hand, begins to realize that she might be protecting herself too much. Alex, still dealing with the proposal for international expansion, is torn between following his ambition or exploring the new and deep feelings he has started to develop for Emily. He decides to organize a formal event to celebrate the company's success and use the occasion to get closer to Emily. He personally invites her to the event, surprising all his colleagues, especially Emily, who hesitates to accept. However, encouraged by Sarah, she decides to go. On the night of the event, Emily arrives looking stunning, wearing an elegant dress that highlights her beauty. She is nervous but tries to stay confident. However, when she arrives and sees the number of important people, billionaires, and influential guests present, her insecurities start to resurface. She feels like she doesn't belong in that glamorous world. Let's play a game with those who only read the comments. Write hot dog in the comments. Only those who get this far will understand. And now, let's continue with the story. During the event, Alex stays close to Emily, but tensions rise when some of the partners and guests start making subtle and prejudiced comments about her presence, questioning her suitability in that environment. One of the most influential partners makes an insensitive remark about her condition, saying something like, "It's rare to see someone with your limitations at events like this." The comment, made with disdain, leaves Emily visibly uncomfortable, but she tries to keep her composure. Alex, however, becomes enraged. He, who has always been calm and composed in business situations, can no longer tolerate the prejudice and judgment surrounding Emily. He confronts the partner publicly, openly defending her. This act surprises everyone, especially Emily, who had never seen Alex be so protective and open about his feelings for her. This confrontation, though brave, creates even more tension between Alex and his partners, who now start questioning whether his personal relationship with Emily might be affecting his professional decisions. The situation at the event shakes Alex deeply. He realizes that his feelings for Emily are deeper than he thought, and he acknowledges that he has been living trapped in a superficial image, worried about others' opinions. After leaving the event, he and Emily have a sincere conversation. Alex, visibly emotional, admits that he is in love with her and doesn't care what other people think. For the first time, he exposes his vulnerability, something he has never done before, showing that he is willing to face any obstacle for her. Emily, on the other hand, is deeply moved by Alex's actions. She never expected him to take such a public stand in her defense, and it touches her own emotional barriers. However, she is still insecure, as she doesn't want to be seen as someone who needs to be saved or protected. Emily fears that their relationship might be built on pity or charity, not genuine love. Despite the emotional progress between Alex and Emily, new challenges arise. Alex's proposal for international expansion is getting closer to being finalized, and he needs to make a decision. If he accepts, he will have to spend several months out of the country, meaning leaving Emily behind, and potentially losing the chance to continue exploring their relationship. Additionally, the tension with the company's partners also starts to grow. Some of them threaten to distance themselves from Alex if he continues to be publicly involved with Emily. They see the situation as a distraction, something that could affect the company's image and its relationships with high-profile investors. Alex faces a tough choice: continue his successful business path, maintaining his peers' approval, or follow his heart and risk losing part of his empire. At the same time, Emily is also going through a moment of introspection. She starts to question whether she is ready to open her heart to Alex, knowing he comes from a world so different from hers. Despite all the signs that he loves her, Emily is still afraid of being hurt, especially by someone who has so much to lose. In an emotionally charged scene, Alex and Emily meet in a quiet place, away from the curious eyes of work or the outside world. They have an honest conversation about their fears and hopes. Alex admits that he has always lived based on others' expectations, but Emily has shown him something new: the importance of truly connecting with someone and valuing what really matters. He confesses that he is willing to give up the international proposal and face any challenge, as long as he can be with her. Emily, still cautious, says she doesn't want to be the reason for him sacrificing his career or his dreams. She believes Alex might be making an impulsive decision, driven by the heat of the moment, and asks him to think carefully about what he truly wants for the future. She encourages him to follow his dreams, even if it means being apart for a while. This conversation leaves Alex in an emotional dilemma. He is torn between the love he feels for Emily and the duty he feels towards his career and his partners. Both agree to take some time to think and decide what is best for each of them. Their relationship, although strong, now faces a definitive test, where they both have to make decisions that could change their lives forever. After the deep conversation, both Alex and Emily go through moments of individual reflection. Alex returns to his luxury penthouse, where silence surrounds him. He feels the weight of his partner's expectations and the responsibility of maintaining the company he built with so much effort. At the same time, he is deeply shaken by his feelings for Emily. For the first time in his life, Alex faces a decision that cannot be solved with money or power, choosing between the woman he loves and the expansion of his empire. Emily, on the other hand, is in her simple apartment, reflecting on everything that happened. She has always been strong and independent, and the last thing she wants is to be an obstacle for Alex. Despite the love she feels for him, Emily fears that their relationship could be a burden, especially with the challenges her physical condition brings. She is also aware that, to many, her wheelchair makes her seem less suitable for someone like Alex, and this makes her insecure. However, deep down, she knows that true love doesn't care about appearances. In the following days, Alex tries to concentrate on work, but his mind is constantly on Emily. He begins to rethink his priorities and realize that the life he built, based solely on material success, has not brought him true happiness. Despite being surrounded by luxury and power, Alex feels an emptiness he has never experienced before. He realizes that his connection with Emily has brought him something money can't buy, a sense of purpose and authenticity. Meanwhile, Emily faces her own emotional battle. Sarah, her best friend, tries to encourage her, reminding her of her strength and worth. Emily starts to question her own fears and insecurities. She realizes that, by distancing herself from Alex, she was trying to protect him, but in reality, she was underestimating both herself and the love they shared. Over time, she decides that if Alex truly loves her, she needs to trust that love and believe they can face the challenges together. Alex, in turn, begins to take steps to change his life. He calls a meeting with the company's partners and makes an impactful speech. He declares that, while international expansion is important, he will not sacrifice his personal happiness for it. He reveals that his life changed when he met Emily, and that she made him realize professional success is not everything. This speech divides the partners' opinions. Some support him, recognizing the courage of his words, while others distance themselves even more, suggesting that Alex is letting his emotions affect his decisions. Alex's decision is clear. He will not let external pressures dictate the course of his personal life. He decides that, regardless of others' approval, he will follow his heart. Emily, after deep reflection, also makes a decision. She realizes that by trying to protect Alex from her own fears, she was closing herself off to the possibility of a happy life with him. She decides it's time to face her insecurities head-on. Emily decides that if Alex truly loves her, she must allow herself to be vulnerable and trust that love. She goes to Alex's office, determined to have an honest conversation. When she enters, she sees Alex looking out the window, lost in thought. When he sees her, a relieved smile appears on his face. They sit and talk again, but this time, the conversation is different. Emily tells Alex that if he truly loves her, she is willing to face the challenges with him, but she needs him to see her as his partner, not as someone who needs to be protected. Alex, emotional, promises he will never see her any other way. This conversation marks a turning point for both of them.
How are
For
you?
the first time, Alex feels free to live the life he truly wants,
okay.
without worrying about
And
others'
well.
opinions. He realizes that the love he feels for Emily is more important than any professional success or social approval. Emily, on the other hand, feels empowered, knowing she can be loved and respected regardless of her physical limitations. She finally accepts that her wheelchair doesn't define her, and that she is worthy of being loved for who she truly is. Together, they decide to face the future hand in hand, knowing the path won't be easy, but that true love can overcome any adversity. Alex resolves to continue working on his projects, but now with a new perspective. He doesn't need to sacrifice his personal life for his job. He starts to balance his career with his relationship, ushering in a new phase of his life. Emily, for her part, decides to continue her life as she always has, but now with Alex's support. She understands that she doesn't need to give up her independence to be with him, and this strengthens her even more. They become partners in every sense, learning to support each other. Alex and Emily are closer than ever, but the road to full happiness is still far from smooth. External pressures and tensions continue to challenge them. News of Alex's relationship with Emily, a woman in a wheelchair, starts to circulate in the media. Sensational headlines emerge, trying to exploit the romance in disrespectful ways, focusing more on Emily's disability than on the genuine love they share. High society and some of Alex's investors begin to question his commitment. At a charity gala dinner where both are invited, one of the partners, visibly uncomfortable with the situation, makes subtle comments suggesting that Alex is letting his emotions interfere with business decisions, implying that his relationship with Emily could harm the company's reputation. During the dinner, while Alex and Emily try to stay calm and enjoy the evening, an incident occurs. A journalist, known for being relentless, approaches Emily and starts asking invasive and insensitive questions about her physical condition. The moment becomes tense, and Alex intervenes, demanding the reporter stop. However, the damage is already done. Emily feels exposed and humiliated, and all her insecurities resurface. She discreetly leaves with tears in her eyes, and a furious Alex publicly confronts the journalist, demanding respect. After the dinner, Alex looks for Emily, feeling guilty and powerless. He finds her in a garden, alone, visibly shaken. Alex sits next to her, but before he can say anything, Emily speaks. She expresses her frustration, saying she doesn't want to be a burden to him and that maybe their love is doomed to face these situations repeatedly. Emily reveals her fear that by being with Alex, she is preventing him from living the life everyone expects of him, a life without complications. Alex, deeply moved, takes Emily's hands and looks into her eyes, sincerely saying he doesn't care what others think. To him, Emily isn't a complication, but the person who brought him happiness and meaning. He confesses he has never been as happy as he is with her, and that he's not willing to give up this love because of others' opinions. Even so, Emily hesitates. Alex's words comfort her, but she still fears that society and external pressures could destroy what they have. At that moment, something happens that puts everything into perspective. A dramatic incident occurs at the event exit. As everyone is leaving, a runaway car heads towards the crowd. In the ensuing chaos, Emily, in her wheelchair, is pushed forward, directly into the car's path. Alex sees the scene unfold in slow motion. Without thinking twice, he runs to save Emily, throwing himself in front of the car and pushing her out of the way. Both fall to the ground, but Alex is grazed by the car and loses consciousness. The crowd gathers around them as ambulance sirens echo in the background. When Alex wakes up in the hospital with minor injuries, the first thing he asks about is Emily. She's by his side, unharmed but with tears in her eyes. This traumatic event serves as a catalyst for Emily's realization. Seeing Alex risk his life for her, Emily finally understands the depth of his love. She realizes that, despite all the challenges, true love is worth all the risks and sacrifices. With a trembling voice, she leans toward Alex and says, "I was so afraid of being a burden, but now I realize the real burden would be living without you." Alex, his eyes filled with emotion, smiles and responds, "You never have been and never will be a burden, Emily. You are the reason I want to be a better person." This emotionally charged moment seals their bond. They understand that together, they are stronger than any adversity the outside world can throw at them. With the incident and Alex's heroic rescue going viral on social media, the narrative around their relationship changes. The public who once criticized the couple now sees their love story as something inspiring and genuine. Emily is no longer seen as just a woman in a wheelchair, and her strength and courage are widely admired. The press, which once attacked them, now portrays them as a couple who defied all expectations and proved that true love transcends all barriers. Alex, with his charisma and firm stance, makes a public statement defending their relationship and declaring that the true value of a person is not in their appearance, but in the depth of their character and the emotions they share. His speech moves thousands, and he gains even more respect, not just as a businessman, but as a man of principles. Alex's act of saving Emily from the accident gained even more traction than expected. The media, initially focusing on their relationship negatively, now completely changed its tone. The incident not only drew public attention, but also sparked a wave of support and empathy. Emily, previously seen only as the receptionist in a wheelchair, was now recognized for the strength and courage she showed in facing adversity with dignity. Emily's transformation was not just public. Internally, she underwent deep reflection. The fear of being a burden, which had haunted her since the beginning of her relationship with Alex, completely dissipated after the event. She realized that the love she shared with Alex transcended physical limitations and societal judgment. More than that, she understood that her value was not in her physical abilities, but in the strength of her spirit and who she was as a person. After fully recovering from the accident, Alex continued to surprise everyone with his attitude. He didn't step away from business, but he also didn't let the corporate world dictate his personal life. In an emotional press conference, he made a statement that touched many hearts. Alex shared how Emily had changed his life, how he found true purpose and love, and how he was willing to face any obstacle to keep it. Emily showed me that true success in life isn't measured by how much we achieve materially, but by how much we are capable of loving, sacrificing, and standing firm in difficult times. She taught me more than any business book or corporate experience ever could. Alex's words resonated throughout the room. And at that moment, the public that once judged the couple began to see them as an example of overcoming challenges and unbreakable love. Within Alex's company, there was a significant shift in corporate culture. Inspired by Alex and Emily's story, new inclusion and accessibility programs were implemented. Alex made sure to emphasize that everyone, regardless of their physical circumstances, should have equal opportunities. He launched an initiative to hire more people with disabilities and ensure they have the same chances for growth and professional development. Let's have some fun with those who only read the comments. Write Coca-Cola in the comments. Only those who make it this far will understand. Now, let's continue with the story. The partners who once doubted Alex's ability to balance his personal and professional life were surprised to see that instead of harming the business, his relationship with Emily brought a new vision to the company. Profits increased, and the company's public image strengthened as a progressive, humanized, and innovative enterprise. The company's stock soared, and Alex was hailed as a leader who not only thrived in business, but also showed rare empathy in the corporate world. Meanwhile, Alex and Emily's relationship blossomed in ways they never imagined. After the incident, they decided to get away from the city for a while and spend a few days in a quiet place away from the spotlight. During this trip, in a small country house that Alex had bought for moments of peace and reflection, he did something Emily didn't expect. One night, under a starry sky, while they were talking about their journey together, Alex kneeled in front of Emily. With a sincere smile and tears in his eyes, he took a small box from his pocket and said, "Emily, you have changed my life forever. I can't imagine a future without you by my side. You have taught me what true love is, and I want to spend the rest of my life showing you how much I love you. Will you marry me?" Emily, overwhelmed and with tears streaming down her face, looked at Alex with a heart full of joy. "Yes," she replied, almost unable to speak from the emotion. "Yes, I will." They embraced tightly, feeling the weight of the adversities they had overcome together. That moment was the culmination of everything they had lived through, the beginning of a new phase built on an unbreakable love. Alex and Emily's wedding became a symbol of hope and love for many people. They chose a simple ceremony, surrounded only by their closest friends and family. The event was intimate but full of emotion, reflecting the journey they had taken together. Their story inspired so many people that even those who once doubted the authenticity of their relationship now believed in the transformative power of love. After the wedding, Emily became an active advocate for the rights of people with disabilities. She began giving talks, sharing her story, and fighting for a more inclusive world. Alex supported her causes, using his influence to ensure necessary changes were implemented in various sectors. Internally, Alex and Emily felt that despite all the difficulties, they had grown and strengthened. The experience of facing prejudice, overcoming fears, and challenging expectations brought an even greater sense of purpose to their lives. Together, they created a foundation to support people with disabilities, promoting inclusion and accessibility. Emily, who once felt insecure and limited, now saw the world with new eyes. She knew the love she and Alex shared was strong enough to face any storm. And more than that, she discovered an inner strength she had never imagined possessing. Alex and Emily, now more united than ever, walked together towards an uncertain but promising future. They knew new challenges would arise, but they also knew that together they could face anything. Their love became a beacon of hope, showing the world that no matter how great the obstacles, true love can overcome all. 5 years had passed since Alex and Emily's wedding, and their lives had taken even more surprising and inspiring turns. The couple, now known not only for the love that brought them together, but also for their contributions to society, continued to make a difference in the world. The foundation they created in support of people with disabilities thrived, helping thousands of people find job opportunities, education, and access to resources that were previously limited. The house where Alex and Emily spent their first years together became a symbol of their journey. It was located in a quiet part of town, surrounded by trees, with a garden carefully tended by Emily. For them, that space represented more than just a home. It was the place where their lives intertwined definitively, where they faced adversities, and where they built their future challenges in a society often unprepared to meet the needs of those with disabilities. Alex used his business expertise to ensure the foundation had sufficient resources to continue growing. His reputation as a businessman was further solidified, and he was seen as a leader who not only thrived financially, but also deeply cared about the social impact of his actions. The business world, once cold and ruthless for him, now became a place where he could make a significant difference. Alex and Emily also had a new reason to celebrate: the birth of their first child. Emily had always dreamed of becoming a mother, but at the beginning of their relationship, she felt this was a distant possibility due to her physical limitations. However, with Alex's support and her own determination, they managed to make this dream come true. Little David, who inherited Emily's bright eyes and Alex's determination, brought even more joy and meaning to their lives. Alex and Emily raised their son with solid values, teaching him from an early age about empathy, compassion, and respect for all people, regardless of their physical conditions. For them, David was the living symbol of the love they had cultivated and the overcoming of adversities they faced together. In the years that followed, Emily became a respected public figure. She started speaking at international conferences, writing books, and inspiring millions with her story. Her name was always associated with the fight for inclusion and accessibility, and many saw her as an example of strength, courage, and resilience. Despite all the attention and fame, Emily never lost her humility. She constantly remembered her roots when she was a simple receptionist struggling to find her place in the world. Now, she used her voice to ensure that other people in similar situations had the same opportunities she had. One sunny afternoon, Alex and Emily were sitting in the garden of their home, watching David play among the flowers. The moment was calm and serene, a reflection of what their lives had become. Emily, smiling, took Alex's hand and looked at him with the same eyes that had won him over on the first day. "Did you ever imagine our life would be like this?" she asked softly, her tone full of gratitude and love. Alex smiled, squeezing her hand. "I never imagined it would be this good. I knew that loving you would be the best decision of my life, but what we've built together goes beyond any dream I could have had." They sat in silence for a moment, enjoying the peace of that instant. Emily knew that her journey to this point hadn't been easy. She had faced deep fears, uncertainties, and many challenges. But looking at Alex and the life they had created, she felt immense gratitude for believing in the love and strength that united. Alex and Emily's story was not just a love story, but one of transformation, overcoming, and purpose. They showed the world that even in the face of the greatest adversities, true love and the determination to move forward are enough to change the course of a life. Their example inspired couples, business people, and especially people facing barriers, both physical and emotional, to believe that anything is possible when you have love and faith. For Alex, who once lived in a world where success was measured only by financial gains, the journey alongside Emily taught him that the true value of life lies in the connections we create, the people we love, and the legacy we leave for the future. Over time, Alex and Emily continued to expand their foundation, travel the world, raise their son, and inspire thousands of lives. Their story became a living example that, regardless of circumstances, love is the most powerful force of all. They proved that true success in life is not in material achievements, but in the ability to love, overcome challenges, and make a difference in the world. Alex and Emily together built a legacy of love, inclusion, and resilience. The bright future they created for themselves and others was a direct reflection of their courage, determination, and above all, their faith in the transformative power of love. And so, under the afternoon sky, surrounded by flowers and laughter, they knew that, regardless of the challenges that would come, the love they shared would guide them for the rest of their lives. What did you think of Alex and Emily's story? Leave your opinion in the comments. And if you enjoyed it, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell.
For over 75 years, Cook's has been transforming everyday spaces.
Millionaire bets on transforming an obese woman into a fashion icon and is surprised when Anderson wasn't just a businessman. He was the architect of success in the fashion world, known for turning even the most ordinary people into shining stars on the runway. His tactics were ruthless, his sense of style, flawless. To him, everything was about image. In his world, appearance was power. At an informal meeting in the upscale restaurant of a five-star hotel, Logan sipped a glass of wine while his business associates discussed the brand's next project. Conversations about fashion and success no longer entertained him. He had already proven he could master anything in that universe. Then one of his friends challenged him. Logan, you always talk about how you can transform anyone. But what if it was someone completely outside the norm, an obese woman? I bet even you would fail. Logan's eyes gleamed with a mix of amusement and challenge. He loved it when people questioned his abilities. Name the person. Who do you think is impossible? The friends laughed, but one of them pulled out his phone and started searching. After a few moments of exchanging knowing looks, he found the perfect profile. Grace Wilson, owner of a small bakery in Brooklyn, far from the glamorous fashion world. An obese woman, with no intention of fitting into Logan's standards. She's perfect, the friend said, showing the picture. Grace Wilson, try transforming her and I'll give you $1 million. Logan looked at the image on the phone and, for a brief moment, felt a twinge of doubt. Grace seemed comfortable in her life, with no desire to change. He knew someone like that wouldn't be easy to convince, and that's what intrigued him the most. I accept the bet, he replied with a cold smile. The next morning, Logan stormed into Grace's bakery. His expensive shoes echoed on the wooden floor as he crossed the small space, taking in the details of the place. The smell of fresh coffee and baked goods didn't impress him. To him, it was too simple, lacking the sophistication he was used to. Grace, who was behind the counter, looked up. She didn't recognize him, but immediately felt that this man didn't belong in her world. There was something in his calculated manner that made her raise an internal barrier. Can I help you? She asked, wiping her hands on her apron, a mix of curiosity and suspicion in her expression. Logan stared at her for a moment before speaking. I didn't come here to buy a cake, Grace. She frowned. How did he know her name? Then why are you here? Logan approached slowly, like a predator studying its prey. I came to make you an offer, something that could change your life. Grace crossed her arms, already on guard. I'm not interested in changing my life. I'm happy with what I have. Logan's smile was more of a controlled smirk than a gesture of warmth. Happy? Look around, Grace. Your bakery is dying. You might not admit it, but I know the business isn't doing well, and I can save it. The tension in the air thickened. Grace stood taller, feeling a mix of anger and discomfort. He was right. The bakery's finances were in critical condition. But who was he to show up and throw it in her face? Who are you to tell me how my life is going? What do you really want? Logan stepped closer, invading her personal space. I want to transform you, and in return, I'll save your bakery. I'll make sure you succeed beyond anything you've ever imagined. Grace let out a nervous laugh, incredulous. Transform? You've got to be kidding, right? No, I'm Logan Anderson. I do this all the time. I turn ordinary people into something extraordinary, and you will be my next creation. With my help, you won't just save your business, but you'll become a woman the world will notice. Grace looked him in the eye, defiant. I'm not a project, Logan, and honestly, what makes you think I'd agree to something like this? Logan knew this was the hardest part, convincing someone who clearly didn't want to change. But he also knew that everyone had a weak spot, and he would find hers. Because you need to, Grace. Not for me, but for yourself. Your bakery is sinking. If you don't do something, you'll lose everything. I'm offering you a way out. Grace felt the weight of his words, but his arrogant tone irritated her deeply. And what do you get out of this, huh? Why would someone like you care about a small neighborhood bakery? Logan smiled, but this time there was something cold in his eyes. Let's just say I like challenges, and transforming you will be my biggest one. Grace hesitated. She knew he was right about the financial situation, but there was something behind that offer, something he wasn't revealing. She could feel it. Even so, the need to save her bakery was overwhelming. And if I agree, what happens? Logan handed her a contract with a quick, almost rehearsed move. You follow my process, and I guarantee your business will succeed. In a year, everything will be different. Grace took the paper but didn't read it right away. She knew she was signing more than just a business deal. She was stepping into a dangerous game with a man who seemed to have deep secrets. With one last look at the bakery, Grace signed the contract. As she did, Logan smiled to himself. He knew the game was just beginning, and what Grace didn't know was that this deal hid far more than she could ever imagine. The bakery was closed for the day, but Grace stayed at the counter, reading the contract again. The name Logan Anderson was no longer a mystery. After a quick online search, she found out he was one of the big names in fashion, someone who had nothing to do with the simple world she lived in. That only made her more suspicious. Why had he chosen her? And more importantly, what was the real reason behind his offer? The next day, Logan showed up at the bakery promptly at 8 a.m., as agreed. He arrived with an air of superiority that instantly irritated Grace. He wore a flawless suit, while she, still in her apron, didn't bother hiding her discomfort. "Ready to start?" he asked with fake friendliness. "Start what, exactly?" Grace shot back. "Because so far you haven't explained anything." Logan studied her for a moment, his eyes analyzing every aspect of her, from her posture to her tone of voice. "We'll start by transforming your image. Before anything else, you need to understand how the world sees you." Grace stepped closer to him, arms crossed, defensive. "And what do you think you know about how the world sees me? I know the world judges. I know it creates standards, and those who don't fit are ignored. My job is to make sure you're noticed." Grace laughed without humor. "Noticed? So you think I'm invisible?" Logan didn't back down. "Maybe not invisible, but certainly not on anyone important's radar. We're going to change that." The tension in the air was palpable. Grace was irritated by the cold, calculated way he spoke, as if her life was just another task on Logan's endless to-do list. Yet, part of her knew he was right. Her business was on the verge of collapse. Something had to change. "And what do you suggest? I should wear high heels while baking cupcakes?" Grace snapped, a hint of sarcasm in her voice. Logan ignored her and picked up his phone, making a quick call. "We're ready. Come in." Minutes later, the bakery door opened, and 3 people walked in, 2 stylists and an image consultant. They brought with them a rack of clothes and various makeup products. "This is ridiculous," Grace muttered, suddenly feeling exposed. Logan watched her, always paying attention to her reactions. "If you want your bakery to survive, you need to become part of the process. If you don't believe in yourself, how can you expect others to believe in your business?" His words hit her hard. Grace knew that, as insensitive as Logan was, he touched on a sensitive point, her lack of confidence. For a long time, she had avoided any kind of transformation, preferring to hide behind her perfect desserts. Now, it felt like he was forcing her to step out of the shadows. "Transformation goes beyond the physical," Logan continued, his tone softening slightly, but still firm. "I want you to see the potential inside you. We'll start on the outside, but the real work is internal." Grace shook her head, trying to keep her composure. "This isn't just about me, is it? There's something more behind this. I know you're not doing this because you care." Logan hesitated for a brief moment, but quickly regained his usual control. "I'm a businessman, Grace. Everything is an exchange. You'll gain something from this, and so will I. But that doesn't mean you can't benefit from this opportunity." "So that's it, isn't it?" Grace murmured, feeling anger bubbling inside her. "I'm just a project to you, a bet. What do you get in the end? Fame? Money? Or is it just personal satisfaction in proving you can change me?" For the first time, Logan showed slight hesitation. Grace had touched on something he didn't expect, that maybe he himself wasn't exactly sure why he was so determined to transform her. He blinked slowly, regaining his composure. "Don't worry about what I gain," he said, his voice more controlled. "The only thing that matters right now is what you can gain from this." Grace stared at him, her eyes fixed on his. Something inside her told her that Logan was hiding more than he admitted. He had secrets, and she was determined to uncover them. For now, though, she needed to play the game. "Fine," she said, sighing. "I'll go along with the process, but I'm not going to let you turn me into someone I'm not." Logan smiled, but there was no warmth in the gesture. "We'll see." As the stylists began measuring Grace and the image consultant assessed her options, Grace felt a growing tension. Logan had a reason for being there, and she knew that uncovering that secret would be essential to surviving what was coming. The following days were like a silent storm in Grace's life. The transformation had begun, and with it came countless clothing fittings, makeup adjustments, and worst of all, Logan's critical gaze. Every move he made seemed calculated, every word a sharp knife touching her deepest insecurities. Grace hated how everything was unfolding. The elegant clothes the stylists brought didn't feel like part of who she was. Logan insisted it was necessary, that she needed to adapt to be noticed. But the more he talked, the more she questioned. Noticed by whom? You need to stop thinking like the old Grace, Logan said in a tone that bordered on disdain as he looked into a framed mirror in front of her. The fashion world isn't kind. Either you fit in or you get crushed. Grace stared at him through the mirror's reflection, her eyes shining with indignation. What if I don't want to fit in? Can't I just be myself? Logan chuckled softly, but there was no amusement in his tone. Being yourself isn't going to save your bakery. She knew he was playing dirty, preying on her weaknesses. Grace felt like she was fighting on two fronts. The fear of losing everything she had worked for, and the pressure to become something she wasn't. Questions swirled in her mind. Who was Logan, really? Why was he so determined to change her? What did he stand to gain from all this? During one of the many sessions, when they were alone, Grace decided to confront her thoughts. Logan, I know there's more to this than you're telling me. Nobody offers help like this without a hidden agenda. What's your real motivation? Logan turned slowly, his expression slightly tense. He was used to controlling every situation, but Grace was starting to challenge him in a way he didn't expect. She was seeing beyond the surface. For a moment, his eyes betrayed a hint of vulnerability, but he quickly masked it with a cold smile. Why do you always have to question everything? Can't you just accept that I'm offering you an opportunity anyone else would kill for? Grace crossed her arms. You don't know me, Logan. And if you want me to go along with this, I need to understand what's really happening. Because right now, it feels like I'm just a pawn in some game you're playing. Logan took a few steps closer, getting near enough for Grace to feel his imposing presence. He looked into her eyes as if trying to gauge how far she was willing to go. You want to know the truth? He whispered, his voice filled with a tension she didn't expect. I'm a businessman. Yes, I make bets, and you're part of one of them. But it's not just that. There's something about you that's different, something I can't ignore. Grace blinked, surprised. That admission, coming from someone like Logan, felt out of place, almost as if he was struggling against something within himself. The sincerity in his words left her momentarily speechless. And what exactly is that something? She asked, wary but intrigued. Logan stepped back, as if he had said more than he intended. His face hardened again, and the controlling man resurfaced. That doesn't matter now. What matters is that we're in the middle of a process. And Grace, if you want to save what's left of your bakery, you'll have to trust me. Trust. That word felt like an insult coming from Logan. How could she trust someone who had admitted that everything started as a bet? Yet there was something in his confession that felt incomplete, as if he was still hiding more. Grace knew Logan wouldn't reveal everything at once. He was testing the waters, gauging her resistance. In the days that followed, Grace continued with the process, but now with a new perspective on Logan. There was something beneath the surface that he wasn't willing to expose, and it kept her on edge. While the physical transformation continued, a quiet transformation was happening inside her. Grace was determined to uncover the secrets Logan was hiding, and that kept her in the game. During one of those sessions, as the stylists made the final adjustments on one of the outfits, Grace noticed something peculiar. Logan usually kept his distance, watching from afar, but at that moment,
she's a bit upset. She called early on. There's a girl there who just keep making her fun, and the thing is, this girl used her disability. She said she's autistic, but she just excused to make fun of Pixie. And yeah, she's mom came here to the house, bombarded, she was angry with my daughter. And her daughter came and just kept smiling, laughing. And she said her daughter won't say any bad words. She just came and angry with Pixie. And now she started again. Yeah. She just using the excuse that she's autistic. She just keep on and on, Pixie. But this girl, she came to the house and two sisters, and I treat them like my daughter. One time she just obsessed. And I treat this girl like my daughter. Now she just keep on and on with Pixie. And the Pixie is a bit upset today.
His gaze seemed distant, almost worried. She caught him looking at his watch, as if he were counting.
And me today, there's another man as well. Well, he's always nasty to me today. He's always saying bad about me. This man in online. I won't let him win. One day he will get his karma one day.
Down to something. Do you have an important appointment? She asked casually, testing his reaction. Logan blinked, turning his attention back to Grace with an almost uncomfortable expression. Nothing you need to worry about, he replied quickly, but Grace knew there was more to it. He seemed anxious, a feeling she had never seen in him before. The mystery of Logan was starting to unfold, and Grace realized that this wasn't just about her or the bakery. Something bigger was at play, and now discovering what it was had become Grace's main motivation. What was Logan really hiding, and why did he seem to be racing against time? Grace was becoming more aware of the changes around her. The external transformation Logan had started was in full swing, but something much deeper was happening inside her. She began to question her own life, her choices, and what she truly wanted. But one thing still bothered her. The secrets Logan was clearly keeping. Even with all the discomfort the physical transformation brought, Grace couldn't deny that she was beginning to see her own
How
work
are you,
in a new way.
Carol?
It wasn't about the clothes or the makeup, but about the strength she was discovering within herself. A strength that Logan, in some way, was helping to reveal, even unintentionally. But this newfound confidence came with doubts about Logan, his motivations, and his secrets. One afternoon, while she was trying on yet another series of outfits, something unexpected happened. Logan was watching from a distance, as he always did, but his expression seemed different, more vulnerable. His eyes didn't carry the usual disdain or coldness, but rather a kind of silent admiration, something he likely didn't want to show. For a brief moment, Grace realized that maybe Logan was just as lost as she was in this situation. After the session, once the stylist had left, Grace, unable to contain her curiosity, approached Logan again. They were alone in the bakery, the atmosphere quieter than usual. Logan, I need to ask again, what do you really want with all of this? She said bluntly, if this were just a bet, you would have grown tired by now. There's something more, and you know it. Logan looked away for a second, something that wasn't typical for him. Usually he faced everyone with confidence, but now he seemed to be struggling with his own emotions. Finally, he sighed, crossing his arms. Grace, there are things you wouldn't understand right now. I'm not exactly who you think I am. Grace felt a chill. What did he mean by that? It was the first time Logan admitted so
What's
clearly
happened?
that there was much more at stake than just a simple bet.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I haven't been so much on here. Yeah, I've noticed. Yeah, it's been a while. Understood. Oh, yes, yes. Yeah, that's very scary for elderly to broke her hips. Yes, that's very scary, especially elderly people. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're good. Thanks for asking. One of our friends here in YouTube, his grandma, Polly. Oh dear. You look after your grandma. Goodness. How are you today? How you feel? How are you? What have you been doing? Similar. There is no changing. Anderson. Similar. Good. Good. You've been doing good. Ah, that's good that you can do that. Thank you for stopping by. Oh, thank you. Yes, Dom's at school. I'll just have to check the time too. He lost his transport, so I have to bring him and fetch him every day from school. Hi, good evening, Ryan. So it's a tiring work. Of course, yes. Yes, yes. Yesterday he was doing well. Of his exercise. Oh, I'll tell about your name. Thank you. Thank you, Addison.
Then make me understand, she pressed, stepping a little closer. You can't keep playing these games without giving me answers. If you want me to trust you, you need to start being honest. Logan stayed silent for a few moments, as if weighing how much he should reveal. Then, in a lower tone than usual, he spoke. This bet, it's not just
He's
about
at
you,
school.
it's about me
I will,
too.
I
I
will
made this
collect him
bet because
soon.
I needed to prove something, not to others,
He's at
but to
school.
myself. Grace watched him closely. There was sincerity in his words, but also an emotional weight she hadn't expected. For the first time, Logan seemed less controlled, less like the Iron Man he had always portrayed himself to be. Prove what? Grace asked, with a softness in her voice that surprised even her. Logan looked directly into her eyes, something he rarely did with such intensity.
Bernie.
That I can
I
still
am from
change.
Timbuktu.
That I'm not just the person everyone expects me to be. The silence that followed was heavy.
I am
Grace
from
didn't know how to
Timbuktu,
respond to that
Bernie.
confession. She had always seen him as someone. We are looking for people to pack orders as shown in the video. It is possible to work from home. How to respond to that confession. She had always seen him as someone impenetrable, but now, standing before her, was a man fighting his own inner battles. You think you're transforming me,
Hey, I
Grace
hope your
began,
grandma's
carefully choosing her words. But
fingers
maybe I'm
crossed.
transforming you too. Logan let out a low laugh,
But
more from nervousness
it's
than
hard
humor.
though when they have
You're more right than you
Wonderful.
realize, Grace. What did he mean by that? Grace was growing more
We are
intrigued,
from
but at the same
Timbuktu.
time, she sensed she was treading into dangerous territory. The closer she got to Logan, the more she realized he was hiding something big. Something that might
I
even
wanna,
hurt
I
her in
wanna
the
love
future. In the
artists
days
too.
that followed, their interactions changed. The coldness between them began to fade, and there were moments when Logan seemed less like the fashion mogul and more like a man dealing with his own insecurities.
Hi,
He
Judy.
no longer treated her as just a
How
project.
are you,
There was
Judy?
a growing respect between them. Grace was starting to see beyond the facade Logan so carefully maintained, but that also
Hey, I
scared her.
haven't done anything.
closer
You
she
don't need
got,
to thank
The more she
me.
realized how
Thank
much
you,
of an enigma
guys.
Logan
Could
was.
you come and visit me?
One evening, while they were working late during yet another fitting session, Grace broke the silence with a question that had been on her mind for days. Logan, have you thought about what you'll do after all this is over? After the transformation? Logan paused for a moment, clearly caught off guard by the question.
Oh, you
I- I haven't thought much about after. Grace gave a slight smile. That's a lie, and you know it. Someone like you always has a plan.
have you visited the doctor?
Logan looked at her for a long moment, then turned his gaze toward the window. The silence between them grew thick again. Maybe the after isn't so important,
Hey,
he finally
Judy,
said,
maybe
but there was
maybe
something
you
in his
need-
tone that
you need a
suggested
check.
otherwise.
from the doctor.
Grace knew he was avoiding the truth once again. There was something big, something he was hiding,
It's
and she was
better.
determined to
It's
find
better
out.
to check early.
Logan was becoming
then
more
later.
human to her, but
You
that
don't
didn't
wanna.
erase
You
the
don't want
secrets
to regret
surrounding it.
yourself.
Grace understood that the transformation wasn't just about her appearance or her bakery. Logan was fighting an internal battle, and she was beginning to realize that somehow she was part of that struggle too. In the weeks that followed, unexpected changes unfolded for both Logan and Grace. The relationship, initially built on a superficial bet, began to evolve. Grace, with her authenticity and inner strength, disarmed
No,
Logan
I
in ways
never
he
go.
never imagined. For the first time, he didn't see someone as a project to mold, but as a real person,
Hey, you
with
have
dreams
to.
and fears that he was starting to value. Grace, on the other hand, felt her emotional barriers
what's-
starting to crumble. Despite her
May I know
suspicions and the
what's,
secrets still surrounding
what you
Logan,
feel?
she couldn't deny the connection that was forming between
You
them.
can check. You
There were
can go to
moments
the
when she saw an
nurse.
unexpected vulnerability in Logan,
Judy?
something that touched her deeply. Yet, a part of her knew he was still hiding something big. One evening, after a long session of fittings and discussions about the
Your
next
doctor
steps
no
in the
good?
transformation, Logan and Grace were alone in the bakery. The intimacy in the air was palpable. Logan, who always kept a professional and distant demeanor, was now standing close, his eyes fixed on hers in a way that made her shiver. Grace, he began, his voice soft but laden with something more. I think I need to tell you something. Grace felt her heart race. For weeks she had been waiting for this moment, a chance for Logan to finally be honest about what was happening between them. But before he could continue, the sound of heels echoing on the wooden floor interrupted the delicate atmosphere. The bakery door opened, revealing a tall woman with sharp features and a cynical smile that immediately put Grace on edge. Amanda. She entered as if she owned the place, her eyes locking onto Logan with a mixture of disdain and something darker. Logan, darling, I'm surprised to find you here, Amanda said, her voice dripping with venom and sarcasm. Logan stiffened. Grace could feel the shift in his energy instantly. Whatever was happening, Amanda was a ghost from Logan's past that he clearly didn't want to resurface. This isn't a good time, Amanda, Logan said coldly, but there was a hint of tension in his voice that didn't escape Grace. Amanda let out a bitter laugh and turned to Grace, looking her up and down. So this is the famous Grace Wilson, Logan's little bet. He never talks about his projects, unless they're touching something deeper. Grace frowned, sensing the provocation in Amanda's eyes. And who exactly are you? Grace asked, trying to keep her composure. Amanda gave a calculated smile. I'm someone who knows the real Logan, and if I were you, darling, I'd stay far away from him. He has a habit of destroying everything he touches. Logan stepped forward, positioning himself between Grace and Amanda. That's enough, Amanda, he said, his voice hard.
Hi, good
You don't
morning.
belong in this part of my life anymore. Amanda ignored
I love
Logan
you
and kept her
fine.
sharp
I got
gaze
sick
fixed on Grace.
every
Has he told you what he
winter,
did to your
and I
family,
get
Grace?
very
Did he mention how he was responsible for their downfall? Grace's world stopped. Amanda's words hit her like a punch to the gut. She
you
looked
can
at
come in
Logan,
here.
searching for answers,
I'm sure
but his
you
silence and the
change
dark
your mood.
expression on his face confirmed the worst. What is
You
she
got
talking
lots of
about,
friends
Logan?
here.
Grace
You can
asked,
talk.
her voice trembling. What did you do to my family? Logan ran a hand over his face, clearly struggling to find the right words. Grace, I didn't know your family was involved until after I accepted the bet. Grace took a step back, the ground feeling like it was collapsing beneath her. What do you mean? How were they involved? Amanda, savoring the moment, gave a cruel smile. Your dear Logan here was involved in a financial scheme years ago that ruined several families. One of them was yours. He helped manipulate your father's company's debts, driving him to bankruptcy. Grace felt the air leave her lungs.
It's
This can't
a
be
nice
true,
story.
she whispered, feeling the tears
Painful
welling up in her
story.
eyes. She looked at Logan, desperate for him to deny it, to say it was a lie. But he didn't. Grace, I found out after I took the bet, Logan finally said,
No.
his voice filled with regret.
It's a
At first,
millionaire,
I
but
didn't know.
bet
But when
he
I
can
started
turn
looking more into you,
obese
I realized your
woman
father was
into
one
a
of the
fashion.
investors who was destroyed by a series of bad decisions. Decisions I helped manipulate. Grace shook her head, unable to believe it. My father lost everything. He died after that. You destroyed my family, Logan. Logan took a step forward, but Grace raised her hand, stopping him. I never wanted that to happen, he said, his voice filled with pain. If I had known, I would have done everything different. And when I found out who you were, I was afraid. Afraid of losing you, afraid to tell you the truth. Grace was devastated. Everything she thought she had been building with Logan, the trust, the connection, now felt like a lie. You knew all along and tried to hide it from me? Amanda? Watching the scene unfold,
Hi.
smiled.
Good,
He was just trying to
morning.
save his own skin,
How
like
are
he always
you?
does. But Grace,
I was
the hole
waiting for
goes deeper
your
than
live
you think.
stream.
There's more that Logan
yesterday.
hasn't told you.
Kelly.
Grace looked at Amanda,
Thank you for
confused and
visiting.
terrified. Amanda laughed darkly. Oh, sweetheart, you're just scratching the surface. Logan isn't the man you think he is. He's cruel and destroys everything. Grace turned to Logan, her eyes filled with pain and desperation. What is she talking about? What are you still hiding from me? Logan tried to speak, but he hesitated. He didn't know how to tell her everything. The silence in the bakery was heavy, almost unbearable. Grace stood there, staring at Logan, the man who had been responsible for the destruction of her family. Amanda's
Hi.
words echoed in her mind,
Charlie.
and everything she believed
How
about
are
Logan
you?
now felt like a cruel lie. The ground
How's
seemed to
things
crumble
with you
beneath
now?
her feet, and the heat of anger mixed
Have you
with the
got-
pain
Have
burned
you
in her
got a
chest.
job?
You knew all along that it was my father,
Or
and you did all this
your
just to
house?
use me. Is this part of your plan to destroy what's left of my family? To destroy me and my family's bakery too? Logan lowered his head, unable to meet Grace's pained gaze. Grace, please, listen to what I have
How
to
you
say.
feel now?
I know I made terrible mistakes. I know what I did was unforgivable. But in the beginning, I didn't
Didi,
know
I
who you
hope
were.
you,
Only after I took the
I
bet, when I started looking
Hey,
deeper into
Didi.
you, did I find out what had happened.
It's better you can talk.
Grace crossed her
So,
arms,
it's
her
better
hands
to
trembling with
help.
rage and
It's
hurt.
help here.
And what did you do with that discovery,
I
Logan?
want to come to
Decided it was
John's
easier to
party.
keep
Please.
deceiving me, pretending
Yeah.
everything was fine while hiding the secret? What else are you hiding from me?
Yeah, it's good at planning.
Logan
isn't it?
sighed, running his hands nervously through his hair. He knew this moment would come, but he had
was
never
nice,
imagined
though,
how hard
yesterday.
it would be to face the truth. He hesitated, but he knew he couldn't keep
Bless him. I think the plan yesterday it really works. He loves people to come and visit him. Oh, bless him. Because he doesn't have much friends. I think that's what a lot of special need children, they must be very lonely and isolated. That's why they love people to come and visit. We have friends from dorm school. I know from dorm's group, and they have 3 of them. I think they, or autistic. One is Honey, and there are two boys. They are very good children, and the moms and dad are very good too. And one boy's birthday this Saturday, and yeah, that's why he said about party. So that's why he works very hard doing this, because I was talking about food and lunch, and I can cook. It's a play. It's helping him to think about it. I was happy to see him walking. Yes, when it's clicked to his mind that it's helping him, he got motivation. So he was talking about drinks and why food on the table and that and out. So it really works him. It was nice though. It was nice that he can do that. Nice and challenging. How to handle. Sometimes it's not working, so I have to keep thinking that any ideas to help him to motivate. So yeah, it's a challenge all the time. But I'm glad you have seen him yesterday, because Dom he can do something. He has to be in his own time. I have to be patient, a strong patient. And yeah, Denise, hi. I know. Hi, Barbie doll, and bass and the love by Mimi. I'll try. I'll try, Denise. But yeah, it's now Dom is growing. He's a proper young man. He knows what he wants, and it's not like when he was, young, that I can lead him easily. Now it's not, because he has his own decision, and when he decide, which it's tough for me, because I have to keep trying and trying. But I will try. I'll try, Dennis. I'll try. And I hope you still able to watch the progress every single day. Hi, Iti. I have seen your email. Thank you, Iti. Thank you for. How are you? Good morning there. Oh, JD, thank you. I try my best. I try my best. But I'm glad that some of you have seen my hard work for them. Just getting my day started only. Oh, here is nearly 2:30. It's time for me again to go and get Dominic. It's early there. You can have your breakfast, everyone. Today is early there. Here is late. It's afternoon here.
Running from it. Your father, Logan began, his voice low and filled with guilt. He came to me before everything fell apart. He was desperate, Grace. He begged me for help. He knew his company was sinking, that he had made some bad decisions, but he believed there was still a chance. He asked me to help him rebuild, to save what was left of your family's business. Grace blinked, unable to believe what she was hearing. Her father had asked Logan for help? The same person who had destroyed him? And what did you do? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper.
Have you ever wondered why some people are blessed with this gift for making amazing?
Voice barely above a whisper.
Lord,
Logan
I don't
closed
eat
his eyes
in
for
the
a moment,
morning.
feeling the weight of his guilt crushing
You
him.
don't
I
eat
ignored him.
breakfast?
At that time, I was
Like
so focused on my own
cornflakes,
interests, so blinded by
toast?
success, that I decided your father's bankruptcy was inevitable. I let him sink. I could have helped him, Grace. I could have
Thank
done
you.
something, but I didn't. Grace felt her heart break all over
You don't
again,
eat.
as if the
You
ground was
might
collapsing
you
beneath
might
her
be
feet.
hungry.
The father, the man who had always been her hero, had begged for help from the very man standing in front of her now, and Logan had simply ignored him. He had let her father be destroyed. You let him die, Grace said, her voice trembling with a deep, raw pain. My father died believing he was a failure. He died ashamed of what had happened to our family,
Ali,
and all of it was
I'll
because of
try
you.
my best.
Logan
Thank
took a
you.
step
Thank you
forward,
for saying.
guilt etched into every
Yeah.
line of his face. Grace, if I could go back and fix everything, I would.
Okay, thank
I never
you.
wanted this to happen, I swear.
And thank you so much for your nice comments, everyone. It's lovely. it's lovely. Somebody called me today. Very bad words today. Thank you, Ali. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you that you have seen. You have seen me. Yeah, I try my best. Bye, Talaka. That's why I show it every night. How how I look after them. But somehow some people don't take they don't realize how lucky some people in this world.
When I got closer to you, everything changed. I realized what I had done, and I regretted it deeply. But Grace didn't want to hear his excuses. She was shattered. Everything she had built, the bakery, her relationship with Logan, now felt like a cruel lie. She felt betrayed in a way she had never experienced before. I don't know if I can forgive you, she said, her voice broken. I don't know if I'll ever be able to look at you without remembering what you did to my father, to my family. Logan tried to step closer, but Grace moved back, keeping her distance. Grace, I understand what you're feeling. I know you have every reason to hate me, but please, let me try to make this right. I don't want to lose you. Grace shook her head, tears streaming down her face. You've already lost me, Logan. I trusted you. I started to feel something for you. But now, all I see is betrayal. The tension between them was palpable. Logan was desperate for Grace to give him a chance, but the pain she felt was so intense she could barely breathe. With every word he spoke, the weight of everything that had been revealed became more unbearable. I know I hurt you, Logan continued, his voice strained. But I'm willing to do anything to make up for my mistakes. I just need one chance.
Maybe it will help you.
Grace turned away, trying to find some shred of strength to handle it all. She knew Logan was trying to make amends, but the pain of his betrayal was still too much. She didn't know if she would ever be able to get past what he had done. Before she could respond, Amanda, who had been watching the scene with a look of satisfaction, interrupted once again. Grace, don't be naive. Logan hasn't changed. He's always been like this, only thinking about himself. Do you really think he's sorry? Or is he just trying to salvage what's left of his own reputation? Grace looked at Amanda, feeling the anger rising inside her. Amanda had been involved in her family's downfall somehow, and now she was reveling in Grace's suffering. You knew all along, didn't you? Grace said, her voice full of bitterness. You knew what Logan had done to my father, and yet you took advantage of it. Why are you here now? To rub salt in my wounds?
I've just
Amanda laughed,
finished
a cold
my
and
one
cruel
basket.
sound. I'm here to open
And
your
there's
eyes,
more.
sweetheart.
What-
Logan was never the
I have
hero
no-
of this story.
No time
And now you know just how low he can go. But remember, he's not the only one to blame. Your father had secrets too. Secrets that Logan hasn't told you yet. Grace turned to Logan, her heart racing. What else are you hiding from me? Logan closed his eyes, knowing he couldn't hide the truth any longer. Your father, he made one last deal with me. He offered everything he had left to try to save the bakery, but I refused. I thought it would be better to let everything sink for good. Those words were the breaking point for Grace. Her father had begged for Logan's help, offering everything he had left, and Logan had simply ignored him. He let her family be destroyed, and now she had to live with the guilt of never knowing. The pain was overwhelming. Each day seemed to drag Grace deeper into a bit of sadness and disappointment. She tried to go on with her life, but wherever she went, she felt Logan's presence like a constant shadow. He had shattered her trust, broken her heart with devastating revelations, and now she wasn't sure if she would ever fully recover. In the weeks following the revelation, Grace avoided all of Logan's attempts to reach out to her. He had called countless times, left
Thank
messages,
you, guys.
but all she wanted was distance.
I
The
thank
thought of
you.
hearing his voice, of facing the man who had ruined her family's life, was unbearable. Yet the silence was painful too. The conflicted feelings of still caring for him, mixed with the betrayal, kept her in a constant state of anguish. But Logan didn't give up. On a rainy morning, Grace was locked inside the bakery, trying to keep her mind busy with orders and preparations. When the sound of loud knocks on the door caught her attention, her heart raced. She knew who it was, even before she looked. Logan was there, standing in the rain, completely soaked but determined. His eyes, usually full of control, were now marked by desperation. Grace, please, listen to me, he said, his voice trembling with emotion. Grace hesitated for a moment. Part of her wanted to just send him away, but another part, a part she didn't want to admit, still wanted to hear what he had to say. She opened the door just enough to let him know she was there, but not enough
Finished
to let
now,
him in.
and
I have nothing left to
I will
hear
have
from
to
you,
do a
Logan,
live stream
she
again.
said, her voice cold but with a
Tonight,
hint of
so
pain she couldn't hide.
Thank you very much.
Logan stepped
for
closer,
your support.
his eyes pleading.
JD,
I know I hurt you, Grace. I know what I
was
did is
making tea
unforgivable,
and I
but
forgot
I can't
to
give
thank
up on
you,
us.
Petul.
I made mistakes, and I'm trying to change,
You can do
but I
it
need
again.
you to give me a chance.
Yeah,
Grace shook her head,
I
tears threatening to fall.
I'm going
You
to
destroyed my family,
collect
Logan.
Dominic.
That's
now.
not something I can just forgive
Have
and
a
forget.
lovely day there.
Logan took a deep
And
breath,
please thank you.
struggling to hold back
Thank
his
you so
own
much.
emotions. I know I can't change the past,
Ali,
but I can make a difference now.
Thank you so much, Ali.
Since you've been gone, I've been trying to do
Thank
something
you.
that matters. I'm trying
I
to
hope
be a
you
better
can see
man.
Dominic
Not just for
again.
me, but because you made me see that I needed to
Thank
change.
you. Bye.
Grace stared at him, her heart torn between pain and the desire to believe he was truly sorry. What are you talking about, Logan? Logan looked at the
Bye-bye.
ground for a moment before answering. I've been helping a homeless shelter.